Rasulul Kareem, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask him to send peace and blessing his beloved and our beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We finished the various salats, and now we're continuing salat, the normal salat and Ramadan. Now is about the Eid, some masail related to Eid and Salatul Eid, that's a connection. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He intends good ease for you, and He does not intend for you difficulty, and that you may complete the prescribed period, and that you glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, exalt the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make takbir for what He has guided you to, and so hopefully that you may be grateful. Shah Waliullah explaining this says this in the dhikr, the remembrance of takbir following the fast of Ramadan. So في ذكر تكبير عقب صوم رمضان إشارة إلى أنه يستحب ليلة العيد. That means that it's on the night of Eid, right? That if the we've been told to make dhikr post Ramadan, then Ramadan finishes what? Maghrib time. So that's the eve of Eid. So that takbirat should be done, and so it's mustahab to do takbirat on the night of Eid, in the day of Eid, and to make a lot of takbir. And when going out to the Eid Salat on the Eid al-Fitr, and this has been narrated from many Sahaba radiallahu anhum, Tabi'een, and this is many ulama have said this as well. And according to Imam Hanifa Rahimahullah, it should not be made loudly in the Eid al-Fitr, but quietly. And then when he reaches the Musawwa, the Eid grounds, the prayers, we usually do it in the mosques here, Eid Salat, but in Muslim countries they have Eid grounds. So Eid is not actually done. Rasulullah did Eid in the outside of Masjid Nabawi. He didn't do Masjid Nabawi. There's a place where today, if you're facing the Qibla, on the right of the courtyard of the Masjid Nabawi, which is quite far from, like a couple of hundred meters from the old Masjid, the actual Masjid, the original Masjid. So where Masjid Ghamama and Masjid Abu Bakr and so forth are today. So just outside the courtyard. That used to be the place where people gathered, because it's not just the people who prayed in the masjid regularly or come, all the surrounding towns, villages used to come for Eid Salat and pray together. So so when you reach there, then you should stop the takbirat. And the next chapter, it is mustahab to do ghusl for Salat al-Eid. Imam Malik narrated for Nafi, narrated for Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma, that he used to make ghusl for the day of Fitr, Eid al-Fitr, before he went out to the Musalla, the place for Eid. And this is according to Shah Waliullah said, huwa qawlu al-ulama'i. This is according to the ulama, that is mustahab for Salat Eid, and what is mustahab for Salat al-Jum'ah. The things that you do for Jum'ah preparation is mustahab, from ghusl to taking a shower, Islamic shower you could say, ghusl, a bath, or washing yourself, with tatayyub. I mean, a shower is not automatically a ghusl. You have to make niyyah and so forth, but ghusl is inside shower, can be inside a shower. To perfume, to put for the men obviously, and to wear your best clothes. You don't necessarily have to wear new clothes, but to wear your best clothing. These are in Jummah, and they're also in Eid Salat as well. On eating on the day of Fitr before you go out. So Eid al-Fitr is the Eid after Ramadan, right? So Imam Malik narrated from Hisham bin Urwa, who narrated from Urwa bin Zubayr radiallahu anhu, that he used to eat before he went out to the Eid Salat. Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab, and narrated from Sa'id bin Musayyib, that he informed that the people, Sa'id bin Musayyib is a senior tabi'i, son-in-law Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, and then he's informing that the people, who's he talking about? Sahaba radiallahu anhu, that they used to order the people to eat before they go for the Eid Salat. Because in Ramadan we refrain from eating for the sake of Allah. Now, after the Fajr time, we will eat to fulfill it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Malik said, but I didn't see that the people did this in the Eid al-Adha. And Shah Waliullah said, this is according to the ulama, that is mustahab in the Fitr, in the Eid al-Fitr, that to eat before the Salat, and in Eid al-Adha, that you refrain until after the Eid Salat. This is a section on the time to go out to the Eid Salat. Imam Malik is narrated that he's reached in the Sa'id al-Musayyib, that he used to go out to the Eid Salat after he prayed Fajr, right? Subh, Salat al-Subh, Fajr, and before the sun rose. So because they have to walk a distance to the Eid ground, so they prayed their Fajr, and before the sun rose, he would set out to go there to the Eid ground. Obviously, Eid Salat is after the sunrise, duha time, mid-morning, or sometime when the sun has risen, at least, 10-15 minutes at least, the sun has risen. So it's a time that you can pray in. So he said that Imam Malik mentioned the masala for Imam Malik that there is no difference of opinion that the time for Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha is at the Imam goes out from his house, the distance that he reaches the Eid prayer place, and the time of Salat is you need the Imam to come to lead, someone has to come lead the Salat. From the time that he takes, leads Fajr, he's at his home, and then he goes to the Musalla, to the Eid grounds, walks there, and which is usually on the outskirts of town. And the time for Fajr has, the sun has risen. The time for Eid Salat has started. Right? So that's the time. And then he mentioned that Shah Waliullah says the time for Eid is, according to them, is when the Salat is permitted to be prayed in until midday. I was reading in one book that in the Middle Ages, this is before the Tatar, they attacked, no ruler would probably do this today. That the Muslims were because Baghdad was like the center of the world, and that they had the Khalifa had so many celebrations that they nearly missed Eid Salat. Just think about that. Like before the Tatar Mongolians came and Halaku Khan, all that happened, wiped out, or they went through these areas. But just think about how much parties you would have to have that you almost miss Eid Salat, right? Generally, the Muslim world, no matter how bad it is, you won't see that. They learned such a lesson. I think they didn't repeat that, at least that mistake. Wallahu alam. I don't know how good they are, bad that compared to the previous one, but it was actually, when I was reading, I was shocked at how they would do. What book is this? It was a history book actually, and they were talking about in the Middle Ages the opulence of the Muslims. There was so much wealth and so much luxury and so many worldly things that they forgot. They partied so much, and they were celebrating those processions and through the streets and food and whatever, as they would, and that they forgot. They nearly missed the Eid Salat. That means they were going right up till Zuhr time, right? If Zawal is the end time for Eid, according to the Madhab of Shafi, they should be done early. People should go find their place, as we do. People take their prayer mats for their Eid Salat, and the Imam comes and they pray the Salat, and Eid al-Adha is prayed early, and Eid al-Fitr is delayed a little bit. In Fatawa al-Mugiriya, it mentioned it is mustahab that to do early and to hasten towards the Musalla, the Eid ground, because and it's more virtuous to make the Eid al-Adha early and the Eid al-Fitr later, right? And after Eid al-Adha, you have to do something else as well. You have to go do your udhiyah as well. There's another act to do. There is no adhan and no iqamah for the two Eids. Imam Malik said that he heard from many of the, not one, but many of the ulama, numerous ulama, that they said that in Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha there is no adhan and there's no iqamah from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam until today. And obviously from his time till our time. And Imam Malik said that this is a sunnah and there is no ikhtilaf according to us with anybody. And this is also the view of the people of knowledge. Salat is before the khutbah in the Eidain, as opposed to Jummah. Right, the next section. Imam Malik is narrated from Ibn Shihab that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he used to pray the Yawm al-Fitr and Yawm al-Adha, the Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, before the khutbah. Salat is first, then the khutbah. And it happened that one of the Khalifas, he tried to engineer, because the Eid is, they pray with the Eid, but the khutbah, listen to the khutbah is Sunnah and Eid. So they didn't want to listen to him, they didn't like him, Zalim, whatever. So they would just get up and walk out. Because he would lead, the Khalifa would lead the Salat, right? The governors would lead the Eid Salat. They were also they were not Jahil either, they could lead, they had the ability to lead. There's very few of our rulers could probably do that today. But they used to lead the Salat as well. And but he tried to engineer it, put the khutbah first, so they're forced to listen to him, so they by gunpoint basically, they can't leave. So then the ulama, they, of course this is wrong, incorrect, right? And it's invalid because the Eid Salat is the start and then the khutbah should be done after. He just missed it. So, but they used to try to force the people, so it didn't work obviously. Imam Malik narrates that is reached him that Abu Bakr and Umar and Khattab, they used to do like this as well. Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab, from Abu Ubayd, the freed slave in Azhar, that he said, I was Eid with Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, then he prayed, then he turned and faced us, like he turned around and he did a khutbah to the people. And he goes, these are 2 days that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has forbidden fasting in them. So it's haram to fast on it, or makruh tahrimi, or forbidden to pray on the 2 days to fast on the days of Eid. Two Eids. 2 Eids. Yeah. Yawm fitrukum min your day of Eid from your fasting, the Eid al-Fitr, because you're breaking the fast, like, and the other one in it that you eat from your sacrifices, your qurbani, the second, the Eid al-Adha. And Abu Ubayd said, I witnessed Eid with Osman bin Affan, and he came and he prayed and then he turned and he did the khutbah, and he said that he said, so it was Eid, but it was also a day of Jummah. He said to the people that Allah has gathered for you 2 Eids today. If you want, you can stay. The Aliyah is the outskirts of Madinah Munawwarra. So you might have to walk an hour or 2 to get to the Eid Salat in those days. And then if you leave, because if it's early in the morning, Eid Salat, let's say it's 8 o'clock in the morning, then you have to walk to your village, then walk back for Jummah. So he said for those from the outskirts, they can wait for Jummah, and it would be good if they wait. It's better. It's more. Whoever loves that from those outskirt people, that they wait for the Jummah, they should then wait. And whoever wants to go back, then I give them permission to go back, because the whole community is supposed to be there in pray Jummah together. Right? People on the outskirts of Medina used to come. It's a weekly ijtima gathering of the Muslims of that town, city, Madinah Munawwarra. But he said, I give permission. If somebody's not coming, there's a question mark, right? Is he Muslim that he's not even coming for Jummah? Right? And there was a serious consequences in this Muslim rule and so forth, that you can't just be existing. Then you put in the category of munafiqeen, and there's consequences for not praying publicly, not praying salat. And Abu Ubayd said, then I witnessed the day of Eid with Ali bin Abi Talib. So he's talking about the 4 Khulafa, the Eid with them. And he said that, when not winning Khalifa, when Osman al-Mahsur, like the siege was laid to his house, so he couldn't go out of his house. It's a long story, incident, and he was basically a siege was laid that he could not exit his house. So then Ali radiallahu anhu stepped in, he prayed, and then he did the Eid Salat, and then he did the khutbah. And this is, all the ulama are in agreement regarding this, that the khutbah for Eid is first, then it's a salat. And all the 4 khulafa practice is there as well. In the chapter, in the first rak'ah to do 7 takbirs, and in the second rak'ah to do 5. Imam Malik narrated from Nafi, the free slave Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, that he said, I was in Eid Adha and Eid al-Fitr with Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, and he did takbir in the first rak'ah, 7 extra takbirs before the qira'ah. And in the second, he did 5 takbirs before the qira'ah. Imam Malik said, and this is the matter according to us. And upon this is Imam Shafi, that in the first takbir they do 7 before the qira'ah, 7 other than the takbir of opening the salat. And in the second, they do 5 takbirs before the takbir of coming up from such. Because their takbirs are, in Hanbali fiqh as well, 5, 6 or 7. But it's much more than the one in the Hanafi fiqh. And they will mention, and Imam Hanifa Rahimahullah says that to make 3 takbirs in the first rak'ah and 3 takbirs before sajda in the second rak'ah. While the other ones, they do 6 and 7 or 5, 7 and 5. In the first, do 7, and the second one to do 5 at the beginning. So before Fatiha, before the recital, and in the second rakat before Fatiha as well. And these are valid. All of these are valid. And in this masjid, we done both. وفي الثاني بعد القراءة ثلاثا قبل تكبير الركوع. And these are valid. If you go to Haram, because many Hanafis, they're never seeing except for the 3 and 3. 3 in the first rak'ah, 3 in the second, and the daleels are there for that as well. It's reached in the next chapter. Whoever reaches the Eid place and the people already finished the Eid Salat. So Imam Malik said regarding a man that they're coming back from the Eid and he could not see the Salat, and so there's no salat in his house. He said can he pray in his, basically the masala is like, can he pray by himself in his own house or with some people that they missed the Eid Salat. He said there's nothing wrong with that. Lam ara bidhalika, Imam Malik said there's nothing wrong with that. And he does the same salat in the first rakat and 7 rakats according to Imam Malik Rahimahullah, 7 takbirs in the first rakat, 5 in the second rakat. Shah Waliullah Rahimahullah says, commentating this, according to Imam Shafi Rahimahullah, Salatul Eid is prescribed for a jama'ah, which is generally how we do Eid Salat, we pray in jama'ah, or for individual, or for a slave, or for a woman or a traveler, right? Except that the individual doesn't do khutbah, right? And the khutbah is done by the Imam of the travelers, and according to Imam Hanifa Rahimahullah, it is wajib to pray Salatul Eid on whoever can. Suppose Salatul Jummah is wajib, and the condition is that the person the same condition for Salatul Jummah, right? So that's why, like in Hanafi fiqh, like you can't. There's no qada actually for Eid Salat. There's no qada for, according to Imam Hanifa. The other Imam say you can't do it by yourself. If you miss it, you can just do it, and it's still a Eid Salat. You missed the Jamaat, but you can do it by yourself. But Imam Hanifa says no. That's why tayammum is allowed for Eid Salat. If you're in just imagine, there's no water's not just available everywhere, and you can just in time manner. You see the Eid Salat, there's no way for you to make wudu. You can do tayammum and join the Eid Salat, because there's no qada for it according to the Hanafis. Janazah is also similar as well, because there's no qada for Salatul Janazah, right? What did Rasulullah ﷺ recite in the Eidain? Imam Malik narrated from Damra bin Sa'id al-Mazini, who narrated from Ubaydullah bin Abdullah bin Utbah bin Mas'ud, who narrated from Umar al-Khattab, and that he asked Abu Waqid al-Laythi that what Rasulullah ﷺ recited in the Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, and said he read Surah Qaf, wal-Quran al-Majid, and وَيَقْتَرَبَ بِالسَّاعَةِ Surah Qamar, وَانشَقَّ الْقَمَرِ. And Shah Waliullah says, Rahimahullah, that he said that upon this Imam Shafi, and we mentioned this before previously in the chapter of what to be read in Jummah and so forth, it applies to this. And then many books mention Sabih Isma Rabbika al-A'la, Hal Ataka Hadith al-Ghashiyah should be read in thing. And if you look at the meaning of these surahs, what's recited in Eid, it's a day of celebration, but look at what Rasulullah ﷺ is reading. All these surahs, if you look at them, all about akhirah. It's like a picture of akhirah is put in front. And I was reading one book, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahimahullah, he wrote that Eid is supposed to remind you of Qiyamah. Eid is supposed to remind you how, in the old days especially, is more pronounced, maybe less, maybe a little bit now, that the people coming for Eid Salat supposed to, some people come on their camels, some people come on their nice horses, some have very nice clothes, some have lesser clothes. And the disparity in our countries and historically as well was so much that you can clearly see who's rich and who's poor. And he said that it's supposed to remind you of Qiyamah, that on Qiyamah, that not everybody's going to be same, because people amal is different. Some will be riding, some will be on mounds of musk, some will be sitting on thrones because of how much they pleased Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some in a very honorable position, Allah saved us, some will be in a very humiliated position. So similarly, Eid Salat, people of different ranks can be seen. And so maybe look at our car park, that kind of gives you, here, but outside in the car park, you'll see like what people drive. Not that it's not to put up, down, but just he said it's supposed to remind you of the day of Qiyamah. And if you read these surahs and you reflect on the meaning of surahs, people want, there's a request that comes to me to do like children, like kiddie khutbahs, Jummah khutbah. It's a very strange request. Because Jummah is supposed to be maw'idah. And yeah, you can talk about things that is pertinent to students during student days, but it's a very Jummah is a serious matter, right? And the Eid the khutbah is also a serious matter. It's not just a normal talk, right? It's supposed to be like my father, Rahimahullah, he reprimanded me once, about, because I quote a lot of Imams, like this Imams, Ibn Qayyim said this and this Shaykh said this. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَسَعُوا إِلَىٰ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Jummah is about to turn your attention to Allah. Why are you talking about him and that and this? It's a maw'idah to remind you of akhirah, and you have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very short, Rasulullah's khutbahs were very short, and it's to remind you about akhirah. Why are you talking about this and that? You should focus on what the whole point of it is. So we want, sometimes people they give me feedback what you should talk about, not talk about, or but